What's up, everyone? It's Justin, and I'm so excited that I have a special guest, Ashnichrist, here. What's up, Ashni?
What's up? It's
Uh,
so good to be here. Thanks for having
yes,
me.
absolutely. So, as you guys know, I've been doing some interviews lately, and I wanted to introduce Ashni. So, she's the founder of Stream Coach. She's a published author, a Twitch partner, podcaster, and YouTuber. She's been around the block a few times, I think, right, Ashni?
Yeah, a few
And
times or a
yeah,
thousand.
there we go. And so, you have a ton of experience working with brands as well. So, this is going to be a great conversation. So, welcome.
Yeah, like I said, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk brand deals and hopefully give y'all, as much help and knowledge and support as I can through my experience of being here and working with companies for the last like 5 years.
Yes, yes. I mean, like on that note, why don't you give us a little bit of background? Like, why did you start making content on social media? Give us kind of the backstory.
Yeah, totally. So I started out on Twitch. This was, oh my gosh, like 2012 was when I first originally found the site because a boyfriend at the time introduced me to it. And the first time I saw it, I was like, that's so weird. People watch people playing video games. Like, what is going on here? But the more that I started to learn about it, I really became obsessed with this idea that there were a bunch of other nerds out there who I don't know, we're like building all these relationships and friendships. And there was this whole website that was dedicated to people who were streaming and just playing video games. And all my life I'd been such a weirdo for liking video games and Pokemon cards and all that kind of stuff. So finding kind of this like new group of people that I didn't know existed was really cool.
Mhm.
So I started streaming in 2013 and I was just horrible at it. Like I always tell people you can't be worse than me because I did not talk to my chat. I was really like shy and scared of talking about who I was and the things that I believed in and the stuff that I did. And eventually, I got a little bit better. I went full time on Twitch in 2015, and I had somebody who was really financially supportive of me at that time. Um, and for some reason, I couldn't get above like 20 average viewers, which is like a relatively, I would say it's relatively successful because it is really difficult to get to that level. But on Twitch, and especially if you're looking to work with brands, I mean, it's the more numbers the better, and I guess that's true of
Right,
all
right.
social media. So
Right.
but so I brought that concern up to this person who was really financially supportive of me and just told them I wasn't able to get above this viewership level and I was really discouraged by it. And they said there will be a lot of people who make it on Twitch, but it's never going to be you. And so that was kind of the moment where they pulled their support. I lost my dream. I pulled back from streaming. And that first go of it just definitely didn't work. So for all those people who are struggling, trying to figure it out and trying to make something of themselves. I mean, I empathize with that so greatly because I've been there. I know exactly what it feels like to like want to have this voice on social media so badly, but then nobody pays attention to you. Nobody hears any of the words that you say, and they just
Hmm.
seem to not care. So that was kind of the beginning for me. I started because I just wanted to make friends. And it led me to some pretty weird places that were totally unexpected. If you look back like now to who I was 2013 when I first got started, you'd be like, who is that girl? This is a different person for sure.
So I mean, digging into that, like um, I mean, that must have been a blow, like about, when you had this dream and you'd worked so hard to accomplish it. Like what made you push through that? Like, how did you finally, how do you have the perseverance to, because I think a lot of creators have elements of this in their life. Maybe they have family or friends who aren't supportive and they're just thinking like, why are you spending your time doing this? Go get a real job, go to college, like, et cetera, et cetera. So like how did you push through that and, find the success that you have to date?
I love this question so much. This is great. So originally I didn't. I stopped creating content, I started this like random food blog because I just needed somewhere to put that creative energy. And I had just moved to this new city, so I was kind of, going out to nice restaurants with my partner at the time, and I I really just fell into a depression. There were days I didn't get off the couch. I would just watch New Girl and hang out with Netflix all day and enjoy my new puppy, and that was pretty much it. I didn't move a lot of the time. And after exploring all these new restaurants and also the depression, I gained a little bit of weight, and I felt just like sick of feeling sick and tired and slow and unproductive all the time. And so I decided I was going to go to the gym. I usually listen to music in the gym, but at this point I'd heard about podcasts. So this was 2015. And I was like, I'm going to try out one of these new weird podcast things. And so I started searching for business podcasts. And I found one called Smart Passive Income by Pat Flynn.
Yes.
It's so good. And it's so good. I started listening to that, and I heard these two women who were talking about how they started this entire community based on this like green juice cleanse or green smoothie cleanse that they were doing. And so people would pay like $5 to be in this 30-day cleanse with them. And they'd get shopping lists and like community features, and everybody would talk. And it just seemed like everything that I was trying to do for my stream. And so I started listening to more and more podcasts of his, and I was hearing stuff about like the crazy like audience development, branding, marketing, all these things I had never heard about before in my entire life. And that was kind of the moment I was like, oh my gosh, this information, if I had had this, I wouldn't have had the moment that I had where I couldn't get above these 20 average viewers, and I wasn't connecting or resonating with people the way that I wanted to. And I lost my dream of being a full-time streamer. If I had had this information, none of that would have happened. And so I really felt like that knowledge was kind of the key to me unlocking the content creator that I wanted to be. And because I had been through that experience and it was really hurtful to me, I empathize greatly with people who are also going through that. And so I decided I wanted to learn as much as I possibly could and share that information with other creators who are struggling as well.
Right. That's incredible. And, I love, one of the things about being a creator that I think is so powerful and that I've definitely experienced over the years is that seemingly, like when you put out content, you never know whose life you're changing. Like when Pat started that podcast and his community and everything, it's like he has impacted so many people's lives over the years. And it's like, I just think it's such a cool, and you've probably like heard this story too from your own community, is like, just we've gotten notes and even like handwritten letters and stuff of like how, we have like impacted people's lives. Like we actually got one, my wife and I got one recently that someone told us that she decided to not pursue being a lawyer or a doctor because she was feeling so much pressure from her family. It's not what she wanted to do. And like hearing us talk about like living your dream and like owning your future and things like that, like actually changed the course of her life. And we were just like, whoa, like we were not like anticipating that would happen. But it's like the power that you have, even though you don't think about it. That's just something that I think is so amazing about creating content and just fostering positive communities. So that's an amazing story for sure.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I love that about content creation. Like we're definitely in this era of the internet and just of modern time in general, where we don't have to do work that we don't genuinely love anymore. We can get paid for doing work that we love. And this idea of either being a starving artist or going to a 9-to-5 job that you hate just because it pays well, that doesn't have to be a reality.
Yeah, no, I hear that for sure. And talking about income, because the topic of this is my first brand deal, I would love if you could share like rewind back to those early days when you did start to get a little bit of traction. You started to get some interest from brand partners and things like that. What went through your mind when you first got contacted by a brand who wanted to like, whether it was maybe like free product or they actually wanted to like pay you like, hey, like talk about us on your videos, talk about us on your stream. Like how did that all go?
I think there's a little bit of disbelief whenever that happens, whenever you hear you can get either free product or payment from companies. It's like, what? I've enjoyed doing this for the longest time. I've been, streaming and making YouTube videos and creating this social media presence. And now the idea of working with companies because they see value in the stuff that I've created and they want to support what I'm doing. I think that was a huge moment for me because it made me feel a little validated, I guess. And yeah, it was just, it was so exciting. It was so cool to have somebody reach out and say like, hey, we want to give you this thing for free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I got this, a recent partnership that you have up here on the screen with Koji. And funny enough, we both got sponsored by Koji recently.
That's so cool.
Boom. So that's so hilarious. To be honest, like you said, it's kind of funny because, when I started creating content for to help other creators out, much like you do, I definitely did not think that brands would want to be partnering with me either. It was just not really a reality. I thought that was possible. So it's there is, I agree. It's there's a certain amount of disbelief that happens when this happens. And so talk us through your philosophy behind partnering with brands. Cause I think that, every creator kind of thinks differently about who they decide to partner with and who they don't decide to partner with. Is there some sort of decision-making process when a brand partner comes in wanting to work with you that you do an assessment of would this be a good fit for me, for my community? How do you think through that stuff?
Yeah. So you're right. I think everybody kind of has their own approach for this. Mine is typically, do I believe in what they're doing? Do I see a level of future for this company? Am I excited about what they're doing and what they create? And is it relevant? Of course, is it relevant for the people that I'm creating this content for? So I'm in a really, I think both of us, we're in a really great position whenever it comes to brand deals, because whenever you're a creator who helps creators, you have companies lining up trying to get in front of your audience because they are trying to get creators, because they know the creators have their audiences, and that's you're kind of the key to unlocking the kingdom.
Right.
So I kind of look at it as a combination of that few those three things. It's, am I excited about this? Do I feel that there's a future, and is it relevant for a portion of the people who I am creating content for? Because I do want people to feel that the brands that I'm talking about are going to be helpful for them. But that being said, I mean, my audience is I have so many different kind of creators who follow me that my ability to work with brands is pretty huge. There's most brands that reach out to me would be relevant for a portion of the people that I create content for. So I'm in a position where most of the brand deals that are offered to me, I can take. But it always has to be something that I believe in, and it has to be worth the amount of work that I'm going to put in. So there are some things I'll do, if it's a charity organization, for example, I'll obviously do that for free, because that is, if the causes are important to me, then I want to be able to support those. But then there are other paid campaigns that I do. And I'm to the point now where I get so many companies who ask for promotion that if the price or if their budget is too low, sometimes I'll say no because of that as well. So I really try to respect my time, and I try to respect the potential for my workload to drastically increase for a small amount versus a large amount. It's very important, I think, that whenever you're talking about working with companies, that you understand that it's not just, oh, I'm just going to post a tweet and then it's over. It's an actual working relationship for me. And so a lot of these relationships, there's a ton of emailing back and forth. There's administrative work. There's getting approvals on the content that you create. There's the whole hours and hours and hours long process of creating the content in the first place. So that has to be, that time has to be respected. I think I'm a
Yeah.
really big believer in everyone's time being valuable and kind of figuring out what works for the brand and what works for you. And if you can reach a mutual agreement on that is really important for me. Depending on the company, sometimes, that looks a little bit different. And also because I create content on a lot of different platforms, that gives me a little bit more of negotiating power to build packages for people or, get them kind of like upsell or do anything that I need to do in order to make it work for both of us.
Yeah, and on that topic, I do want to talk to you about kind of your diversification strategy across all of your platforms and your business in general. But wanted to give a quick shout out to a few folks in the chat. Keto Twins, what's up, Emily? Caster, Caster mentioned here. You probably have a comment on this. Stream for a whole year, never had more than 3 to 4 viewers. It really took a major toll on my mental health. I can't imagine. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's super common and it's really tough. Like I always equate it to going to the gym every single day and then never losing weight and never getting stronger. Who's going to put in all that effort every single day to never see a single result?
Mm-hmm.
That's horrifying to think that like some people are putting that much time and effort into their content and they're not getting the results that they want. And it can definitely mess with your mental health and make you feel like, well, what's wrong with me? Why is everybody else so much better than I am? Am I like unattractive? Am I not funny? Am I not interesting? Is there nothing valuable that I'm giving the world? Am I really this bad of a person that nobody wants to hang out with me? Yeah, 100%. But there are a lot of solutions for that, which is why, we built Stream Coach TV and why I help and you and I both help creators the way that we do, because we know that there are solutions for that problem.
Yeah, no, and let's actually talk about that. So let me pull up, I want to pull up Stream Coach so people can take a look. So walk us through kind of like how you think about your business, because obviously you've expanded. Tell us a little bit about Stream Coach and like why you started doing this. Like I said, you're doing a lot of different things. And I'm just kind of curious, like when did you start this? Why did your mind go here? Why did you think it was necessary and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so a lot of this, I think, was because of Pat Flynn's introduction to the entrepreneurship community for me. After I learned more about business and everything, I really became passionate about finding a way to provide enough. My dog keeps snoring. If you hear that, that is my dog.
That is a very loud snore. Your microphone either is very sensitive or that's a very loud dog. But yes, proceed.
Yeah. He's so cute. So, so I got introduced to entrepreneurship. And whenever I started helping streamers and just sharing the information that I was learning, this was like, I want to say 2017, after a couple of years after I left Twitch, I knew that I wanted to be able to help people in a more direct way. And so I was making all of these YouTube videos and I wasn't quite going live on Twitch yet, but I was building a Discord server of a bunch of streamers. And this was definitely new for the space at the time. So now you can find stream educators and like there's hundreds of them, which is awesome because that means there's a lot of health for this niche. But back whenever I first started, there was not a single YouTube channel or a single creator that was dedicated to helping other streamers.
Interesting.
And so what I did was definitely weird. I had a little bit of that like first mover advantage, but that's not to say that like my content at the time was good, because it definitely wasn't. It took some time for me to figure out how to make videos people would care about. And what ended up happening for me was I was sharing so much information. There were people who were asking for my time. And I was like, you know what? If there is a percentage of people who want to go deeper with me, why don't I give them that option? I'm going to test it out and I'm going to see if I enjoy it, if they enjoy it, if I feel like it's helpful, or if I feel like, this isn't really a path for me. And so I did a few free coaching sessions in 2017. And then I very slowly started charging for more. I remember the first coaching session I charged $20 for, and it was my first paid session. I was like, what the heck? This is so weird. And then I just kept testing the market and the demand and everything until I got up to $200 for a 1-hour session. And right around there was where it capped out for the most part. But it resettled around $100. So I had 15 people, 15 slots that were fully booked for the $100 for an hour. And so many people were asking for me to open more that I set, I think 3 slots at 200, sold out of all of those. And then I just kind of said, you know what, I can't handle any more clients. So whenever people drop off of these coaching sessions, other people can sign up, but I just can't open up anymore because the demand was way too high. And then I came back to Twitch in May of 2018, and our channel absolutely exploded and demand for coaching increased even more, probably like 10x what we were doing.
Wow.
It was crazy, absolutely crazy. And I did it myself for a couple of years. It wasn't until I want to say November of 2020 that I was like, I cannot do this alone anymore. I just can't. It is impossible for me to keep up. It's really burnout inducing, the amount of like energy that I'm dedicating to all of these people's individual channels, and I don't have anybody else helping me. So I'm taking care of all of the coaching, all of the administrative, communication, the booking, as well as writing my first ebook and streaming 3 days a week, like 8 hours a stream, and making 4 YouTube videos a week and being on social media every single day. I was working like 16-hour days and I was driving myself into an early grave for sure. So in November of 2020, I put up a link to an application page, just a very basic application asking for people to help me with stream coaching. And that is where my current team came from. Wow. We built out a coaching program that's a 6-week boot camp to walk streamers through all of the stuff that I was talking about in the one-on-one sessions. And we price it at, it's $97 a month for 5 months. So it's basically the same price as working directly with me one-on-one, but you get way more value out of it because you get meetings with my staff, meetings with myself, a bunch of coaching material that is going to give you a more rounded explanation of all the concepts that I usually talked about in one-on-one sessions. So this was basically my movement away from being a one-woman show and a bootstrapped little entrepreneur to building a team, building a business, and taking all of this more seriously. So now we do one-on-one coaching. We're just starting to take that publicly for the streaming industry. And we also have SCA, which is our main program. That's kind of where we try to get everyone into.
That's a lot.
Yeah. it's been a journey.
I think a lot of creators in the chat can probably empathize with this, which is just that, pardon me, that's a lot of content to be pumping out on a weekly basis. Like how do you not go insane?
Oh my God. I don't know. I don't think that you do stay sane.
How do you, because I'm looking at your YouTube channel. Sorry, I've got a cough, but let me pull this back up here. I mean, you are streaming and uploading a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, back in the day, it was worse. I've definitely I've switched things around a lot, but man, whenever I was coaching alone and writing my ebook and streaming, that was tough. It really was. And I burned out a few times. In fact, my YouTube channel itself, it's been around for, I think I've been making these kind of videos for 3 or 4 years, but I've actually taken basically a yearly break every single year from YouTube for usually 2 or 3 months because I just overwork myself and overschedule myself. And it was tough to figure out how I was going to stay consistent with everything whenever I've got so much on my plate. But I think I've reached a really good work-life kind of blend now where I feel that I'm at a place in my personal life where I can dedicate a ton of time to this. I'm at a place in my career where it makes sense for me to be dedicating a ton of time to content. And my my identity and my habits and my belief systems about myself all support me being really consistent now when they didn't before. And that's such a huge part of, not burning out, staying consistent with something and sticking to it, is the beliefs that you hold about yourself will shape whether or not you stick with something, because these stories that we tell ourselves, we will look for data around us to reaffirm that these stories are true. So if we say like, oh, I'm inconsistent, or nobody cares about me, or nobody's going to care if I show up anyway, then you're going to find evidence of that being true. And it's going to make it really difficult for you to stick with it and create all the stuff that you need to create in order to get momentum for your channel. So those are some shifts that I had to make in order to stay, more consistent and stick with everything.
I'm muted. Sorry.
Okay.
I was like, I was having a coughing attack over there while you were talking, so I had to mute myself. That full putting you to full screen was strategic. So the one thing that I hear a lot from creators is that like, obviously you have shifted into this niche where you can start charging for your expertise, right? You're not just pumping out content, but people are actually like coming and seeking you out for your knowledge in a particular subject. So you're not just indirectly monetizing your followers, you're actually directly monetizing them, right? And so one like question that I have for you is like, did you ever have imposter syndrome? Like, why are these people like paying me to like talk, like give them advice? Like, do I really have the expertise to like be charging for this type of thing? Because it's like, even I, like, to be honest, I have like a lot of experience doing brand partnerships and things like that. And when I launched my course, like I definitely felt that, like, is that anyone ever even going to care? Is the advice that I'm giving, is it valuable? Right. So how do you counsel aspiring creators, up and coming creators who do, maybe they are a little bit further along in their journey and they could, provide value to other people who are wanting to get to where they are. So like, how do you think through that?
Oh yeah. I mean, 100%. I had the same experience that you had where I was like, who am I? Really? Who am I to introduce this whole new service to the streaming industry? Because whenever I started doing it, it didn't exist. There was not a single person. Not only was there no one creating content for streamers, but there was no one especially that was charging for their time. And well, that's not entirely true. I guess there were like some people behind the scenes who were doing it, but in a very public way, in a very forward-facing way, like, hey, I'm a coach, that was super new to the industry. And there was definitely a lot of imposter syndrome, and there still is some today, especially whenever I have people coming up to me constantly saying like, coaching doesn't work, coaching is a scam, coaching is stupid, why are you doing this? Sometimes, like, I'm not perfect, sometimes those voices can break through and I'm like, man, am I like messing with people? Am I worth all of this? I think every large creator struggles with that pretty consistently, because as much as we want to believe that everything that we're doing is right, and we've researched, we've taken the steps to build our credibility, we've taken care of our communities, and we have all of this like history of good that we've done, once you get to a certain point, there's definitely that level of like, people who don't believe the same as you. And a lot of people say like haters or naysayers or like just negativity in general. But I really believe it's just people who have different beliefs. Like, I do believe in coaching, but there are some people out there who don't. And that's okay. That doesn't make the fact that I coach and that I have this option available for people any less valuable just because somebody else doesn't believe in it. I have to stick with my beliefs and the beliefs of the students that are surrounding me, because they believe in this stuff too. So I don't want to let them down. Those are the people who believe in me. Those are the people that their opinions matter the most. And so, yeah, definitely imposter syndrome. Yeah, lots of that.
I think the one thing that helped me get through that when before I launched my course, I was doing, my goodness, sorry. I was doing one-on-one coaching to kind of prove out the methodology to make sure, okay, if I'm going to like make a course, like, is this scalable? Am I actually getting results for other people at scale, not just like one-on-one where I'm giving people directly, giving them time, giving them my attention. And so when those results started to roll in and I started to actually see creators like making literally tens of thousands of dollars more on their brand partnerships than they had initially before they started working with me, it was like, okay, well, literally, I do not care if I have any haters in it, because I know it works. Like, literally, it's a very clear ROI here. So it's like, you want to hate on me? Go talk to that person who I just helped them get $15,000 for a brand deal when the brand wanted to pay them $3,000 or so, right? So it's like, it's very, I think that it's this kind of virtuous cycle where it's like, once you start getting results, it's really that cold start problem, right? It's like the chicken and the egg. It's like, you need testimonials to like get clients, but then at the same time, it's like, you need to start and you need to get initial clients. So it's like, I think what my advice to creators who want to just get started and want to start helping other people, regardless of your niche, whatever it is, I'm not saying you have to help other creators grow on social media or something, whatever it is, just start helping people for free. That's what I did, is I just started 100%. Pumping out content for free on YouTube for a year. And I was just like helping people in the DMs, helping people on email. And it was like, I know that I can do this because I've been doing it. So it's like, I think that helps gain your confidence if you want to move into something like that. And D in the chat here said, coaching is not a scam. Justin has really helped me and his content is highly underrated. Thank you, D. I appreciate that. But it's like Ashley also said here, coaching absolutely works. I would much rather pay someone who has already taken the journey and can teach me how to get there faster and better. That's a really great point, Ashley, which is that if you can pay someone to help you get a result like quicker, like a lot of people are going to do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think there are personality types where coaching makes sense. And then there are definitely personality types where it just doesn't. Like, I can't take someone who's skeptical of coaching, get them into a coaching session, tell them to do all of these things and like shift their mindset about stuff, because they're stuck in this idea that, well, this is not going to help me. Right. So I have to work with people that have an open-minded, ability to be able to see the things that I'm saying and understand that they're gonna try it and actually put that work in. And I think I totally agree with you. Like, for small creators who are looking to help or get into, whether it's coaching or content creation, or if you want to build a product someday, like a course or an ebook or anything, 100% give your time away for free. I mean, the best thing that you can do is directly change people's lives. And you can't do that at scale until you figure out how to change them one by one. So giving your time away, which was what I did in the beginning too. I just did it for free. I just coached for free a few times and then eventually charged like $20 and then kept moving the price up as more and more people wanted it. And I don't know, that was awesome. That was a great way in for me. It felt really comfortable instead of just coming out the gate charging like $1,000, like a lot of people try to encourage small creators to do. I think building up your skill set as a coach should take time, and you should be put through the ringer in a lot of ways. You should fall on your face a few times and fail a lot, and that's going to make you a better coach.
The interesting thing, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, is that like more and more as I hear you talk about your journey, like you have definitely evolved in terms of like how you're making income, right? Because it's like initially it was like, okay, I'm just going to like be a true content creator. You still are, but now you're branching out into all these different ways in which you're diversifying your revenue, whether it's coaching, whether it's ebooks, whether it's all this stuff. And so it's like, was that all purposeful? Did you think, okay, I'm going to be this like creator where I'm like, selling all these different things and all this stuff? Or is it like, how intentional are you about like your next 3 to 5 years or something like that?
I love this question so much. Oh my God. Nobody has ever asked me this, and I've been waiting to be asked this for so long. You're a great interviewer, 10 out of 10. So in my industry, in the streaming industry, especially on Twitch, what's really common is people who stay in the streaming industry for a while and go full time make a pretty bad income. most of the people that are on Twitch aren't making minimum wage, even though they might be putting in 60 or 70 or 80 hours of work a week. And for the people who do make a lot of money, they're very much beholden to their community's wallets, and they're very much their paycheck is dedicated or is dictated by their relevancy and their likability. And that just felt really uncomfortable to me, because I felt like if my paycheck was going to be dictated by my relevancy and my likability, that meant that I was going to do things to stay relevant and to stay likable that might be questionable integrity moves from me. And I just didn't like that reality. I didn't like the idea that I'm going to be a little manipulative during streams in order to make money so I can pay my bills. And I love the idea of, you know, streamers making money and being consistent and going full time and providing for their communities. I always thought that was so important and beautiful. Like, these people just want to support other people and build a space where they can come and hang out and have a good time. And I love that reality, but I always felt more comfortable with the idea of creating something of value that people saw, felt the need for, and having that value exchange with them in a way that I felt was a little bit more of a higher integrity move. It felt more comfortable to me to say, hey, I've invested like 6 months into creating this ebook, or I've invested a year into creating this program. Instead of tipping me on my stream $500, would you rather come into this? Instead of tipping me on my stream $20, would you rather snag my ebook? You're going to get way more value if you're going to be tipping me anyways. Let's do it. So that was kind of the thought process with it. But as I've gotten more and more knowledgeable, I've realized that diversification of revenue is incredibly important. I'm really happy that I went this direction, because I don't want there to be like a ceiling for me. And I don't want to just be a content creator. I want to be someone who's a freaking like force of nature. I want an entire ecosystem, an entire empire of stuff that I've created. I don't just want to be a Twitch partner and that's it. I wanted to be like a shark. Like, I wanted to be the person who had, 100 businesses, and I was telling them all what to do and making money from all of them. And that kind of reality, that level up from being a content creator to being someone who's just kind of the next level of ambition for me, felt like it felt more exciting. It felt like a better fit, and it felt like I was protecting myself from having to do all of these things to stay like relevant, likable, and all of that like you have to do if you're just a content creator itself.
That's really incredible. And man, I got inspired. I got some goosebumps over here. It's just like Ashni taking over the world over here. But it's like, honestly though, like that transition, especially when you mentioned, I mean, this is pretty recent. Like, it was 6 months ago, right? That you put out the call for other coaches. Like, how did you make that decision? Because I mean, that's a big thing to transition from, like, doing everything yourself to like now adding on to the team, so to speak. It's like, it's not just you, they're under your kind of like brand now. Cause that's also an inflection point. So how did you get comfortable with that idea?
You know what? I lied. It was November 2019.
Okay,
so
November 2019.
For like a year and a half.
Okay, a year and a half.
Yeah.
It's okay. Hey, you know what? The last year is like been sucked into a void. So it's okay. It's okay.
I'm like, where did 2020 go? Was that actually a year, or did I just black out the entire time?
Yeah. Real quick, Ashley's inspired in the chat here. Yes, I love this answer so much. No ceiling, 100+ businesses. I feel inspired too. Yes.
Yay! Let's go. That makes me so happy.
Yeah. So let me know. I mean, like, what? How did you decide to like? How did you like? What was your criteria of like? Okay, who am I going to bring onto the team here that is going to be? I feel as though like a good reflection upon this business that I've created.
Yeah. So for me, it was definitely a combination of a few different things. So I was looking, yeah, for success as a content creator, but I really believe like after I've done all this research into entrepreneurship and business and all that stuff, I think for me, learning from business-minded people was the most helpful information I ever got. I never got super helpful information from other streamers. I never got any info that I was like, wow, that's groundbreaking. That's actually like a golden nugget of wisdom. I feel like I really understand something that I didn't before. That never happened for me in the streaming industry, but it happened for me constantly from business and entrepreneurs. And I do employ their, yeah, okay. I do look for kind of success with streaming and content creation or experience with streaming and content creation. But the biggest thing for me is, do they have real strategic advice, strategy, and information that comes from a deeper place other than just their experience being a content creator? Because there are certain things that you absolutely learn from being a creator that is really helpful information. But for the most part, that's information that like everyone is going to figure out as they just create content over a period of time. But in order to get the stuff that's a lot deeper, you have to really have done your work and studied. And so I look for people who have a level of experience that showed me that they understand content creation at a deeper level. And that might come from their level of clout, but that also might come from their level of business experience. So one of our coaches inside of SCA was a certified financial planner and had her own financial planning business for 20 years. And she eventually sold that business and now works with us. And she's just incredibly knowledgeable about business itself. And that is super helpful for content creators, because running a small business is almost exactly like being a content creator. You have to have a product, which typically is your content. You have to have customers, which are your viewers, your community. You have to have a way to deliver the product to the customers, which is through your content. And then you have to have a way to capture and exchange value with those viewers and community. And she has been just absolutely, she's been incredible for us, even though she doesn't have the largest stream. And so a lot of people get this confused. They think that in order for a coach to be super helpful, at least a streaming coach to be really helpful, they have to have tons of viewers to their stream, when that's actually a really simplistic way to look at what coaching can do for someone, because there are tons of people who just happen to have the right content in the right place at the right time, and they were able to get hundreds or thousands of viewers consistently because of that. But if I tried to take that person to another person and say, hey, they're going to explain to you how they got thousands of viewers, they wouldn't even know where to start. They would have no idea what information to give to be helpful. So I have to look for people who are able to explain these concepts and this information in, yeah, a way that is understandable and relatable, but also is a way that proves that they have a depth to their knowledge rather than just experience.
Interesting. Yeah. And I wanted to call out a comment here in the chat. And curious your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Ashley, Destiny says, if someone wants to start on their business ventures but have so many ideas, where should they start? I want to start, but I feel overwhelmed with all the ideas in my head because they don't all relate to one another. What are your thoughts on this in terms of, this? I kind of think about this as like, from a content creator perspective, it's like choosing a niche almost, right? Yeah. It's like, what I have so many things that I want to do. I have so many things I want to talk about. I hear this a lot with like lifestyle type creators on Instagram and family type creators. It's like, they're all posting about their lives, posting about their kids, posting about their travels, their family, and this kind of thing. There's like tens of thousands of creators doing that thing, right? And so it's like, how do you stand out? So I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on it? Because I'm assuming you hear a version of this for streamers in terms of like, well, what do I focus on? Is it like picking the right game, or is like picking, like, what are your thoughts or the advice that you give related to that?
100%. Yeah, this is super common in every single creator space, streaming, absolutely. So typically, whenever someone comes to me and they say they have too many ideas, I usually have a conversation about saying yes versus saying no. So when somebody tells me that they have so many ideas they don't know where to get started, they usually have a fear that when they say yes to one thing, it means that they're always saying no to all of the others. So they get really scared because they think, oh, what if I choose the wrong one? What if I could have been really successful in this, but I chose this instead? And that is a really detrimental fear based belief that ends up holding people back. The only way that you're going to be able to be successful and see all of the results that you want to see is by starting. And yes, you're going to fail, you're going to suck, you're going to create stuff that nobody cares about. And you're probably going to do that for a few years before anyone starts to pick up on what you're putting down. But eventually, you will start learning and picking up more information simply through the practice of creating the stuff. And so, what happens is by choosing this one specific space for yourself, you're eliminating a bunch of the variables in that learning process. Someone who's trying to be variety and they're trying to create content all over the place, it's really difficult for them to figure out how to create content that's valuable, how to resonate with a group of people, how to motivate people to take action, which is really important for brand deals, how to speak in a way that people will actually listen to. And you have to be able to do all of those things if your goal is to be a really strong content creator. But if you're trying to make all of those things happen, in addition to you're doing it in a lot of separate spaces, you have so many variables, it's hard for you to figure out what actually worked about a specific piece or what didn't. And so you limit those variables by sticking to one niche for yourself so that during this learning process of figuring out how to be a content creator, you can say, okay, well, this specific audience didn't care for this, but why? And you're going to be more likely to find answers to all the questions that you're going to be asking yourself because you have placed that limit on your content. So it's just a way, this is all it is. You choosing one of these ideas is just a way for you to fast track the learning process. Eventually, after you have learned, you can create content in any of those spaces and do relatively well for yourself, depending on, a few other variables. But for the most part, after you've learned, you will be able to grow an audience anywhere.
Mm-hmm. That's super profound. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. It's just a matter of you have to give yourself time and the environment to be able to learn.
Yeah, the aspect of time, I think, is really critical here because I'll just be totally candid. Like when I started creating content for this particular, because I've been, my wife and I have been YouTubers for 10 years, but like when I first started creating this type of content, like helping other creators, it's almost been a year since I started, and I'm just now starting to feel like I'm getting the traction, because I was, speaking to a relatively few amount of people for a long time. And so it's like, I definitely think that it's really critical to have a longer time horizon as a creator to like understand that it's going to take a while to like feeling like you're talking to a wall, for a while to really feel like you have hit your stride. When it comes, people always say like, because my wife and I we just started doing like Amazon Live stuff for the last 6 months or so. And it's like, people tell us like, it feels very effortlessly. Like you just like the interplay that you have talking to each other and like, when things come up, you gotta go roll with it and all that stuff. But like, it's taken literally 10 years for us to feel that comfortable on camera, doing live stuff, feeling natural, feeling like ourselves. And so it's like, I'm not saying it's going to take 10 years per se, but like, it does take a while for you to like find your voice. And actually I wanted to mention one other thing, like you were saying about how, like finding your niche and finding your like, the kind of your lane, picking a lane, basically. It's like one thing that I like to tell people is like, okay, if you want to start experimenting with other types of content, there's this concept in marketing called A/B testing, right? Where essentially you don't all of a sudden just change up your entire content, right? Because then you literally have no idea whether this new type of content is going to be palatable to your current followers, right? So my advice is always like, okay, if you're making, let's say 5 videos a week, which is a lot, but let's say you're doing, or how often you're posting on Instagram or wherever you're doing, choose one of those posts to post a new type of content. And that is going to be your 80%. You're going to continue to use, the same type of content that you've typically done. And then the other 20% is going to be this new type of content, right? And then you do that for a couple of weeks, you do that for a month, and then you look at your insights, you look at your analytics and see, okay, what's happening? Like, are people, engaging with this new type of content that I'm creating just as much, or maybe even more than the other type of content? Okay, well, maybe I can take it to now 40% of my content, right? So it's like, you have to be very purposeful about the content that you're creating, because you can't just post the type of content and then just like look at the views or look at the engagement or look at the post engagement, whatever it is, and think that, okay, well, crap, I don't know, I don't know what I'm doing. I just think people aren't very intentional about how they're choosing the content that they're creating. You know what I mean?
Right. And this gets into like the conversation of pivoting. So whenever you're a creator, I mean, every single one of the creators that y'all love, they've got different interests. Their entire life isn't just that one thing that they create, but they build a name for themselves in this one area after, usually a few years. And then eventually, once they've built up enough attention from that one area, they'll sometimes use it to get into other spaces as well. But that pivot you have to do really slowly and really comfortably for your current audience. So there are a lot of people who will do like rebrands in the streaming space, which for them, they say rebrands, but technically all they do really is change their graphics. But some of them will completely change their content. They'll go from like black to white overnight. It's very jarring, and it can be very alienating for your audience whenever you make that big of a shift. And so you're completely right. Being like super intentional about the way that you create for all of your different interests. I mean, it's super smart. And this definitely goes back to the question as well of, I have all of these different things that I love, but I don't know where to start. It's really just choose one, make a choice. You're not going to learn until you make that choice. And then after you have, you've experimented a little bit and you've built up some momentum with that one style, then you can start branching out into your other interests as well. And eventually you can have your own freaking empire, baby, where you've got like 20 different YouTube channels and you're building a business in every single one of these interests that you got, but you got to start somewhere.
I love that, man. This is like turned into like a Tony Robbins conference, where everyone's like jumping up, like yes, No, but it's like, honestly, you're getting. Castor says, if I could speak like this on stream, things would be so much easier. LOL. Well, Castor, you know what? Honestly, it'll come with time. This is not necessarily something that comes overnight. Ashley has been doing this for years, as have I. You do gain the confidence, but it does come with repetition too. And one of the things that I think that I really love about this line of conversation, Ashley, is that so much of what we're talking about, you have a deep expertise in like streaming and things like that, but it's so universal. A lot of the stuff that you're talking about, it doesn't, regardless of what platform, what type of content, whether it's on, VOD content, video on demand content, or streaming, or if it's on Instagram, or if you're a blogger or whatever it is. I think that in today's like hyper saturated landscape of like creating content and being a creator and things like this is very much universal. You really do need to kind of, pick a lane, have a long time horizon, feel comfortable. And something you said actually really resonated with me, which is that a lot, like you said, a lot of creators really do feel like once they pick a lane, they're like stuck to it. How can I actually think that liberates your creativity, because it's like, wow, like, okay, now that I'm talking about this thing, how can I I could go back to this example. I was working with a creator who is on Instagram. She's an Instagrammer, and she has type 2 diabetes. And so it's like all her content is around like dietary stuff for like when you have this disease, like what this condition, like how can I eat, how can I live healthier, like what are the activities I can do, like all this stuff. And I'm just like, wow, that is so genius. And she had like a really substantial following. And so it's like I think people underestimate the to steal a term from the business community, the total addressable market of this content, right? Which is like, you underestimate how many people out there, like would really resonate with this type of content. And Dee, I'm going to single you out in the chat. Dee recently mentioned that she lives in Canada, and she started being very purposeful about creating content for her Canadian followers, where so it's like she was doing Costco, shop with me type content in Canada, right? And like being very specific about that. And Dee, I don't know if you can give us an update on that tactic in the chat here, but it's like you had mentioned that you were starting to see more traction because of that. And so I think people are sometimes hesitant to get very narrow here, when in reality that can actually unleash more traction for you.
Right. Yeah, 100%. It definitely, because it makes you make sense to people, right? So this is something that we talk about inside of SCA a lot, is this idea of whenever you're creating too much variety, you become really confusing for people because they don't know exactly what you stand for or exactly what they can count on getting from you. And so they might see maybe a YouTube video or a podcast episode or a stream, and they really liked what they saw. And so they followed and they're excited to come back next time. But they come back next time, you're doing something completely different. And it's confusing for them because they're like, well, there's workout content, there's cosplay content, there's plant content, there's business content, there's gaming content. What are all these combinations of things? This is too much. And so they get to a place where you just don't make sense because they can't count on anything specific. And whenever you don't make sense, it's going to be really difficult to convince someone to watch you and love your community and your space more than another creator who does make more sense. So this is why when you see YouTubers who have like a really specific niche, even if you're not necessarily 100% interested in that niche, if they perform really well in that space, you might even subscribe and watch a couple of their videos just because you're a human being and your brain loves how much sense they make to you. And a lot of creators don't make a ton of sense to people. So what you're trying to do whenever you are niching down is you're trying to create preference for yourself by making more sense than the average content creator. So it's really you just choose a thing. You don't have to find the perfect thing. You don't have to find the long-term. Well, I mean, we want to think about things with a long-term strategy, but you don't have to find like the thing you're going to do for the rest of your life. And you don't have to wait for this perfect thing to come and fall into your lap. You just have to make a choice and then start learning based off of that choice.
Wow. I love that, man. I can't believe I just looked at the clock here. We're almost at time, which I don't know exactly how that happens. So we'll have to bring you back at some point because that's crazy. You've been dropping so many gems here on the chat. Yeah, but thank you so much. Honestly, so before we go, I want to just quickly say, like, if you have any questions, I think we'll hang around for another little bit of time. So if you have any final questions for Ashley, she's been so generous with her time to chat through everything today. I love chatting with fellow creators who have very much a business mind, because what I have found, and one of the reasons why I started creating content too, was just like, I feel like this whole business side of things was very much thrust on a lot of creators, right? Because a lot of them got into it for the love of the craft, not necessarily for, to like negotiate with brands or like have to make these types of decisions of like, do I need an LLC as a creator? Like, as
Right.
I'm starting to make income, like, is this like, what do I need to do? I have no idea what I'm doing. Right. So it's like, I love talking with, I'm so inspired by you as well. And like this journey that you have taken, and kind of like, I really encourage creators a lot to think about this, which is just like, yeah, everything may be good and great now, but in 3 to 5 years, are you going to be able to stay relevant, keep up with, the changes to the algorithm? Are you going to be able to secure brand partnerships at the same velocity and volume that you currently are? So it's like, what is that next? Like look into the future here.
Yeah.
Like, what is going to be the next step for you? And you need to start planning that now. Right? Because you have to lay the groundwork for it, because when you need that next income source, you can't just turn on a light switch and have it start. It's going to be something that, is going to slowly progress. It's going to be kind of an exponential graph. It's not going to be just this kind of step function, right?
Yeah, 100%. And also you can't, I think you're 100% true. You can't expect that it's just going to shift one day and everything's going to be different for you. I really think like There are a lot of people out there who disagree with me about this, but I really think that the creators who love content creation and want to stick with it, as long as they can stick with it, I do believe that there is success out there for them. But I think a question a lot of people should be asking themselves is, do they actually want to do this work? Because whenever you hear about myself and Justin talking about all the emails that we're sending, all of the like talking to brands and the having to break up interpersonal fights in communities, or having to negotiate or manage Discord servers and creating like 10-hour workdays for ourselves. And yeah, the upsides to this job I wouldn't trade for anything in the world, but there are definitely bad sides to this job as well. And people might love the idea of being a creator, but not necessarily love the work that comes along with it. And that's not to say that you have to love literally every single part of it. There will be parts of it that you hate, but is this work that you want to do? Is this a lifestyle, a reality that you want for yourself? Because if you don't want to do any of this, you don't have to. There are other ways, there are plenty of other options for you to get all of the results, accolades, money, support, friendships, relationships that you want for yourself without having to be a content creator to do it. Guess who's muted again?
I was saying we were just I mute it every time I type one of your quotes because I don't want my keyboard clacking like so I need to get better about unmuting myself. But yeah, we were talking about Restream right before we started the chat here, and one of the things I love about it is like I'm like pulling some of your like great like quote gems over here so we can like pull it up on the screen while you're talking.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. But anyways, yeah, you're totally right. Is that this is something that I don't think a lot of people talk about, which is just like, man, creating content like consistently, especially if it's like meaningful income for you, can be very stressful. Like I definitely like work and have much longer days than I ever did when I had a 9-to-5, and like, yes, I wouldn't trade it for the world, but like, man, it definitely is like not for everyone, so it's like, be honest with yourself, like you said, about is this really something that you're going to be able to do consistently for years to come, right? And so that's one of the reasons why I launched my course too, which was like, it's like if getting brand partnerships is like a meaningful part of your business, let's get you to a point where you have clarity of like what your income is. You have enough brand partnerships in your pipeline so that you can look 3 to 6 months down the line and feel like, okay, like I'm set. I know what like my, because one of the things I joke about is like, man, you probably know this too, where it's like, okay, if you're looking at your bank account or your income like in 30 days or 60 days, and you'd be like, wow, like I don't have any brand deals lined up for like the next, 30 to 60 days. Like that's not a great feeling. But that at that time, like that realization is too late. Because as like, when you start pitching brands and then you finally, it's going to take a couple weeks, couple months, when you finally get them on the hook and they say, okay, yes, let's do this. It's going to take, maybe 1 to 2 weeks to get the agreement signed. It's going to take maybe another 2 weeks or whatever to get the content created. It's going to take another, 1 to 2 weeks to get it approved and do edits and all that stuff. Then you finally post it. Maybe you post it another week or two later, and then it's going to take 30 to 60 days to get paid. Right. So like if you add all of that time up, like you're at like 3 or 4 months now. And so it's like that realization, you're like SOL, right? Because like you need to have that realization way earlier and start to like hit the ground running and start planning out your pipeline of brand partnerships. So it's like, you can start to see, all of you in the chat here, all your creators listening here, like, I hope one of the things that you take away for this conversation is like, you really do need to be a lot more purposeful about not just your brand partnerships, but your revenue strategy, how you're thinking about the money that you're making, and just like start planning out a little like further. And I know that can be challenging, especially if you have a 9-to-5, if this is kind of like still your side hustle. But like that, if that's the one takeaway that that I hope you take from this conversation, it's that. I don't know if you would agree with that, Ashni, but like that's what I'm hoping everyone's getting from this.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I think diversifying your income just in general is really important. You don't want all of it to come from your community. You don't want all of it to come from brand deals. You don't want all of it to come from your own product or service. You don't want all of it to come from a single resource at all, because that means that you're in a position to lose that. money very, very quickly. If something happens to that, like one or two sources of income, you might not be able to pay your bills. And that's a really scary position. We want less creators having that problem. So that's also part of the reason why I got into coaching and building our course over at Stream Coach, is because I knew that it's important for creators to not just have one source of income. We need to have all of them. We need to be trying to capture as much value from as many different places as possible, because that means that we are less likely to have a situation that happens that we lose all of our income from that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely. Well, on that note, tell us what you're working on. Like, what's, where, if people want to follow you, if they want to find out more about you, if they want to work with you, like, what are you working on these days?
yeah, so Stream Coach is always going to be a huge love of mine. That's over at streamcoach.tv. We do one-on-one coaching, and of course, we have our boot camp for streamers and content creators. We've also got a YouTube course over there and a Twitter course over there as well. And that's kind of my main business. That's the one that has been around the longest, has the most, students and success right now. But I am working on a couple of others. So right now I am getting into the like crypto, NFT, real estate investing kind of space. I just started a YouTube channel literally yesterday for this new space. Yeah, I got into Doge, and it just like, it hasn't gone away. I'm so obsessed with learning about all of this. So I'm starting a YouTube channel and a community in that space just to become more knowledgeable. That might, I'm sure I have some, business model around that YouTube channel later on. But right now it's really just me creating content and learning more about these spaces. Mm-hmm. And I'm also, after our conversation, by the way, I'm also working on sponsorships and brand deals for streamers. So I put up a TikTok video about some like a opportunity for streamers that performed really well, and people, I think we had over like 700 applications.
Whoa.
So yeah, so I'm looking into potentially doing that more, but I'm, all of that is just work I'm doing for free right now to see if it's something that I enjoy, if it's something that I believe in and want to do long term, if I want to build a team around it and all of that. So I'm just kind of like getting my feet wet with it. But that's mainly going to be done through my TikTok, which is Ashnichrist. Everywhere is Ashnichrist, except for my new YouTube channel, which is Ashnicole.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much again for joining. This was such a blast. I think everyone in the chat got a lot of value out of this. So thank you again. This was fantastic.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Justin. I really appreciate it. And thank you for everything that you do for creators. Hearing that you're like getting people to thousands of dollars of brand deals, I mean, that's inspiring as heck.
Yes, no, I appreciate that so much. And last quick shout out, Ashley said, can't wait to check out your new channel, Obsessed with Crypto too. This was a bomb interview. Thanks for your time. I could listen to you talk forever.
Oh my God.
There we go.
I love it. Thanks you so again. Much.
Thank you so much. All right. We'll see everyone next Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye.
Peace.